This video is sponsored by PTCGLstore.com, a great place for you to buy Pokemon TCG code cards. Hey guys, in today's video, I'll be showcasing Tyranitar from the Journey Together expansion set. Tyranitar is a stage 2 Pokemon with 3 retreat costs and it is weak to grass. And as you all know, item locking is a very strong disruption in the game, and this Tyranitar does exactly that. It has the Daunting Gaze ability. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent cannot play any item cards from their hand. This ability is so strong that it may just disable your opponent from ever setting up. So really, your main goal will be to evolve into Tyranitar as early as turn 2, hopefully before your opponent can start attacking. And it actually has a very decent attack as well. For 1 dark and 1 colorless energy, Cracking Stomp deals 150 damage, and this also discards the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. You can power up this attack with Reversal Energy if you are behind on prices, but you can also use Crispin, which may help you fully power up Tyranitar's attack, because this allows you to search your deck for up to 2 energies of different types. You can attach one to your Pokemon, and the other you put into your hand. The damage output for the attack is decent enough where it can 2-hit knock out a lot of EX Pokemon in the game, but not quite enough for high HP Stage 2 Pokemon. But the milling effect does make up for the reduced damage in my opinion, because it could deny your opponent from getting the cards they need when you discard their cards, and it could just give you an advantage in the long run. However, we do have another way to add damage to our opponent's Pokemon, and that is with the help of Munkidori thanks to its Adrenabrain ability. As long as this Pokemon has a Dark Energy attached to it, you can transfer up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon onto one of your opponent's Pokemon. The damage manipulation may just help you to get those key knockouts against Stage 2 EX Pokemon. And since this is mostly an item lock build, we gotta have Badoo in this deck. It has the Itchy Pollen attack. For 0 energy, it deals 10 damage, and this will item lock your opponent, preventing them from using any item cards from their hand during their turn. As for the other cards worth noting, I do have a copy of this version of Tyranitar more for its route attack. For a single dark energy, it deals 30 plus damage and 30 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So if your opponent has a full bench, in normal circumstances, this attack can deal as much as 180 damage. And it also has the Dread Mountain attack, which can deal 230 damage, but it also discards the top 4 cards of your own deck. I think this is a great option for a quick attack against your opponent, being able to attack for just a single energy, especially if you're unable to attach 2 energies to your other Tyranitar. And I do also have a copy of Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX in this build, more for its Cornerstone Stance ability, because it's such a great way to wall off any attackers that have abilities on them. In some cases, it can even mean an instant win, and not to mention its unblockable attack. As for my trainer cards, I do have a copy of Xerosic's Machinations. This forces your opponent to discard cards from their hand until they only have 3 remaining. In combination with Tyranitar's milling attack, you can discard a lot of your opponent's cards, which can definitely disrupt your opponent's overall setup. Next, I also have the Luxurious Cape tool card. While this will give your opponent an extra prize if they knock out your Pokemon with it, it does increase Tyranitar's HP up to 290 HP, which is pretty significant. And finally, for my Ace-Pack card of choice, I will be using Neutralization Zone Stadium. This will prevent your opponent from damaging your non-rule box Pokemon with their EX or V Pokemon. So along with item lock and invulnerability, you may just be able to win the game. The beauty of this build, I think, is its simplicity. As long as you're able to prevent your opponent from using any item cards during their turn, and to add to that the milling disruption, you may just be able to slow them down significantly or even completely prevent them from playing the game. As a standalone, this deck is actually pretty good. As long as you're able to fully evolve into your Stage 2 Tyranitar by turn 2, the disruption will do the rest. Overall, a fun build to try out. Anyways, that's pretty much it. You can find the complete deck list in the description below, and now please enjoy the following gameplay videos showcasing Tyranitar. Before we get into the video, I have a small request. If you're liking the content I create, please leave a like to this video, and please support this channel by subscribing if you haven't already. This is a small click for you, but for me, it means a lot. Thank you so much for all of your support. Alright, on to our first match. I will be starting this one with Badoo in the active spot. We also have 2 Larvitars to go on our bench. And with this build, I feel like going first is the most optimal because you do want to evolve into your Tyranitar as early as your second turn and hopefully start item locking your opponent. But then again, if you do go second, you can attack with Badoo and item lock your opponent as well. So at least you do have those options. For now, I'm just going to attach an energy to one of my Larvitars and end my turn. My opponent will be starting with Squawkabilly EX in their active. They will play Cycling Road Stadium. By discarding a basic energy from your hand, you can draw a card, but they're just going to use Squawk and Seize to get fresh new cards. And they will set up Teal Mask Ogerpon EX with a Teal Dance ability. They can accelerate a basic grass energy from their hand onto itself to draw a card. But now they're using Nest Ball to search their deck for a basic Pokemon, put it straight to their bench. So hopefully we'll see what we're going up against here. And we're going against Raging Bolt EX, alright? A very powerful Pokemon. Depending on how many cards or energy cards they can discard from their Pokemon, you can deal so much damage with the potential to one-hit knock out any Pokemon in the game. But they're just gonna use Burst Roar to draw into more cards. Alright, we survive a turn. And we got an Arven for our draw. We do have Reversal Energy. It will act as one colorless energy, but at least with Arven we can get Ultra Ball. We do have Rare Candy in our hand already. We can definitely evolve into Tyranitar this turn. So I'll sacrifice the Luxurious Escape for the meantime to get my Tyranitar, evolve it, and with Badoo's 0 retreat cost, we can easily retreat it. And then we can start attacking with Cracking Stomp, dealing 150 damage to my opponent's Raging Bolt EX, also discarding the top 2 cards of their deck. But now, since Tyranitar is in the active spot, the Daunting Gaze ability is in effect, and my opponent will not be able to use any item cards while Tyranitar is in the active spot. They managed to find Professor Sada's Vitality though, but they did not have any fighting energies in their discard pile. They just attached a lightning energy to their other Raging Bolt. But Ogerpon is fully powered up. They can knock out my Tyranitar because it's weak against grass, but they could not retreat their Raging Bolt EX, so they're just gonna pass. Alright, we survived another turn. I'm gonna use Iono here. And we got a switch, we got Buddy Poffin. I could definitely knock out my opponent's active Pokemon. For now, I'm just gonna replace their stadium with Mesagoza. We got Tails though, but we still have Buddy Poffin. Let me use Ultra Ball for now, sacrifice these two so I can get my Fezandipity EX, because most probably my opponent will get Fighting Energy next turn and knock out my active. So with Buddy Poffin, I'll set up Cleffa and another Larvitar. And I'm just gonna attack with Cracking Stomp, knocking out my opponent's active, getting us our first 2 prizes. So we got an Iono, Boss's Orders, so we have the means to draw into more cards next turn. And I didn't want to put Luxurious Cape to Tyranitar because, again, my opponent has the potential to one-hit knock out anything. Adding that will just give my opponent an extra prize by knocking out our Tyranitar. So my opponent finally got their Fighting Energy. They have enough energies to discard to get a knockout here. They're gonna put another Ogerpon EX in play, and they're just gonna attack, alright? Bellowing Thunder. Depending on how many energies they discard, they deal that much damage, so they're gonna deal 210 damage to knock out Tyranitar to get their first prize. Alright. Well, we got Pupitar. Let's go ahead and use Flip the Script first. We got Monkey Dory. We can definitely transfer damage counters if we have the chance to do so. I'm just gonna try Mesagoza. We got Tails though. Let me just evolve this, and then I don't want to put Luxurious Cape because that's gonna leave a 2-price liability out of nowhere. I didn't really get much from that professor's research, so I'm just gonna use Badoo to Itchy Pollen for the meantime. By item locking my opponent, maybe they can't recover their energies, but they had an energy to attach to Raging Bolt, so they can get another knockout here for sure. So they're just gonna use Bellowing Thunder. All they need to do is discard 1 energy to get a knockout, knocking out our Badoo, and that will get my opponent their second prize. So we'll just pivot into Cleffa for now. We got another Pupitar. I can't evolve into Tyranitar just yet. I mean, I could use Mesagoza, but let me use Flip the Script for the meantime. Alright, we got an Ultra Ball. We got an Ultra Ball. Let me use Crispin to get the Dark Energy, because that's what we need. So we'll attach this. We'll use Ultra Ball to get Tyranitar. Since we already have stage 1, we don't really need the Rare Candy as much. And then Dread Mountain can deal 230. Let me just get this Tyranitar for now. And then I'll have to attach this because Reversal Energy is still acting as a colorless energy. Hey, we got heads with Mesagoza. Alright, let's go ahead and get this Tyranitar then. These will have an option for next turn. Reversal Energy is not in effect because me and my opponent have an even prize. So for now, I'm just gonna attack with this Tyranitar, dealing 150 damage. Again, discarding the top 2 cards of my opponent's deck. And effectively item locking them while this Tyranitar is in the active spot. So we have that option at least. And now, I don't know how my opponent seemed to just keep getting the energies, and now they're gonna get another knockout against my Tyranitar. Well, we have another Tyranitar, right? We'll have to recover a lineup of our other one though. So I'm just gonna use Super Rod, recover these 3, and then since we are behind on prices, we could actually use the Reversal Energy to power up our attacks. I'll use Buddy Poffin to set up Larvitar and Badoo. Attach this. And then... you know what I could do actually? Is use Iono, counter catcher this Fastendipity EX. So with the lower hand size and without any draw options, even after we knock out this Fastendipity, maybe my opponent can't get the cards that they need. So I'm just gonna go with Dread Mountain, dealing 230 damage, but that did discard the top 4 cards of our own deck. But we got Tyranitar and a rare candy. Look at that. Those were insane pulls, guys. But my opponent now has to decide what to do here. They are not item locked though. Maybe they can recover energies. But it really depends on whether or not they can draw more cards this turn. Without Fastendipity EX, I think that will give them a little bit of a drawback. They have Mew EX, so they're playing as much cards as they can so they can use Restart to draw cards until they have 3. They have Crispin, but they have no more energies from their deck. Okay, we're gonna go for Mesagoza. They got Tails. Well, if they can't knock out my active, we could just use Dread Mountain again and then just knock out this Ogerpon to win the game. And my opponent concedes. Alright, good game. I will be starting this one with Larvitar in the active spot. And this time my opponent will be going first, and they're going to start with Charmander in their active. So we're going against Charizard EX. Of course, the more prizes we take, the more powerful Charizard's attack becomes, potentially allowing it to just knock out any of our Pokemon. My opponent will also play Buddy Poffin. They're going to set up 2 Dreepies on their bench. As if Charizard EX was not enough, we're also going against Dragapult EX. So this is going to be a very, very tough matchup. We did get Monkey Dory though. We could just transfer some of the damage counters that they spread to our Pokemon. At least we have that. I could disrupt their hand with Zoroark's Machinations, but I think I'm going to prioritize setup here. So I'll use Arven. I'm going to get Buddy Poffin and Luxurious Escape. You can set up 2 more basic Pokemon. I'll get Larvitar and Badoo. Unfortunately, I can't retreat my active, and I'm going to take my chances with Mesagoza. We got Tails though. Alright, well, that's all we could do. I'm just gonna have my turn. Because I was hoping to get Tyranitar. If my opponent does not get to evolve here, we can evolve next turn. Potentially item locking them, but leaving Mesagoza in play is actually really bad. Thankfully, my opponent failed that, because if they had Rare Candy, they get Charizard EX, they can start attacking. They're gonna use Iono, but they found a Dracloak. Now they can use the Recon Directive ability, allowing them to look at the top 2 cards of their deck, draw 1, and then put 1 on the bottom of the deck. So now they have 2 Dracloaks. So my opponent has a better draw support than we do, that's for sure. But they have Rare Candy and Charizard EX. Oh no! I can't believe they managed to find all of that. By evolving, they activate the Infernal Rain ability, allowing them to search their deck for up to 3 fire energies to attach to their Pokemon. Now Charizard EX is fully energized, and they're gonna attack with Burning Darkness to knock out our Larvitar, getting them their first prize. And also their Dracloak has full energy now. Well, we got Tyranitar. Let's go ahead and evolve that. Can use Iono. Okay, we got Larvitar and Neutralization Zone. But I think I'm gonna go with Itchy Pollen for now. Because Charizard EX is weak against grass, we're dealing 20 damage. And now my opponent is item locked. Maybe we can slow them down a little bit. But they did succeed with Mesagoza. They're probably just gonna get Dragapult EX with it. But if we manage to evolve into Tyranitar, it will take at least 2 attacks to knock out Charizard EX, along with the chip damage that we're dealing with Badoo. We're just going against really bulky opponents here, so a little bit tough, and no energies to help us. There goes the Dragapult EX. If they can switch out this Charizard EX, they can definitely take multiple knockouts, especially with the damage spread. But they're gonna use Boss's Orders to target our Tyranitar, and Burning Darkness deals exactly the amount of damage needed to knock it out. Despite us not taking any prizes, it was enough to knock out Tyranitar. Well, we're desperate here, so I'm just gonna put Neutralization Zone in play. I'm gonna use Professor's Research to draw into more cards. We got Reversal Energy, but that's all we got. So I'm just gonna Itchy Pollen one more time. At least our Pokemon are safe against attacks, as long as my opponent does not have a Stadium card to counter our Neutralization Zone. So hopefully that will buy us some time. But if they can switch out Charizard into Dragapult EX, they can spread damage and just knock out our benched Pokemon. So we'll see what my opponent is able to do here. Probably have to use Super Rod to recover some of our other cards in the discard pile. So thankfully Badoo is also item locking my opponents, so there's that. And they're just gonna pass. Alright, we survived a turn. We can use Arven here to get Rare Candy, and I'll get Luxurious Cape as well. That should enable us to get more HP. We can retreat Badoo, add more HP to Tyranitar, and then we can now attack with Cracking Stomp, dealing 150 damage to Charizard EX, discarding also the top 2 cards of their deck. And while this Tyranitar is in the active spot, the Daunting Gaze ability is in effect, item locking my opponent. They can't use any item cards from their hand. So hopefully that will slow them down, and as long as this Neutralization Zone Stadium sticks, our Tyranitar should be immune to damage from their Charizard EX or their Dragapult EX. They're gonna use Arven. Buddy Poffin, alright. Right now, we are behind on prizes, so they can't increase their damage. That's one thing. But next turn, we can knock out this Charizard EX, get 2 prizes, and that will also turn off Reversal Energy once we have the same prize. But we do have Crispin. We can grab Dark Energy with it, and then we can keep attacking with Tyranitar the turn after. So we'll see how this plays out. My opponent puts Badoo in play. They also have Duskull. They're gonna retreat their Charizard EX, removing all of its energies, and they're gonna use Badoo to also item lock us. Okay. I'm gonna use Iono for now. I just don't like the fact that my opponent has a lot of cards in their hand, so we'll do that. We can't use Earthen Vessel though. We can use Cracking Stomp. Finally get a knockout against their Badoo. We got our first prize of the game. Took us a really long time to get that first knockout, guys. But we're trying. This is a top tier deck that we're going against, so I mean, we'll see how it goes. We're probably gonna lose this, but we're gonna do our best. I mean, Charizard EX is within knockout range already. Dragapult EX is what I'm worried about though, because they can already take 2 knockouts against our 2 Badoos on our bench. And my opponent will use Iono. They managed to evolve into Dusclops. I mean, Dracloak is the only one that can damage Tyranitar right now, while Neutralization Zone is in play. So let's see how this plays out. They're gonna use Cursed Blast, and they're gonna put 5 damage on Tyranitar. Okay, we got a prize for that. Got an Ultra Ball. Oh, but you know what? By sacrificing their Dusclops, the prices that we have are even now, and so our reversal energy is no longer in effect. So I'm just gonna counter with Boss's Orders then, and I'll just trap their Charizard EX in the active for the meantime. Without any energies on it, they can't retreat it and they can't attack with it. So hopefully we can stall enough before hopefully we can get the dark energy that we need to attack. Again, the price trade is messing us up a little bit because reversal energy is no longer in effect. It's only acting as 1 colorless energy, but we got Colorless Tenacity. It allows us to grab an energy and a stadium from our deck. We can get our dark energy, and you know what? We can use Cracking Stomp to knock out this Charizard EX. So we got our 2 prizes, and I mean, you know, we're still a little bit in a troublesome state here. I'm just so worried about our Neutralization Zone being knocked out of play. So hopefully it remains in play. But if not, they can knock out our Tyranitar, knock out our 2 Badoos, and it will take us a few turns before we can knock out Dragapult EX. They're gonna keep attacking with Dracloak though, and we got a rare candy. Look at that! So we can evolve into another Tyranitar, put a energy there, and we're just gonna keep attacking without let up, guys. I'll put... Oh, my opponent concedes! Alright, I'll take it! Good game! On to our 3rd match. I'll definitely be starting with Badoo in the active here. We also have 1 Larvitar to go on our bench. My opponent will mulligan once, so we're going against a Lightning type build. Okay. Can draw 1 extra card. We got an Iono, which is really good. And my opponent will start with Iono's Wattrel. Alright. We can't attack, we can't use support cards. Let me put Fazendipity EX in play. Dash Reversal Energy on Larvitar. And I'm just gonna end my turn. My opponent will use Pokegear 3.0. Finding Them Arvin. Now they can search their deck for an item card and a tool card. And they're gonna get Precious Trolley and TM Evolution. They have another Wattrel. Gonna use Precious Trolley, allowing them to search their deck for up to however many basic Pokemon that they want and put them straight to their bench. So they're gonna set up 2 Iono's Tadbulb and 1 Iono's Voltorb. Alright, so gonna attach an energy. Looks like they're just gonna use TM Evolution to evolve 2 of their benched Pokemon. And they're gonna evolve into Iono's Kilowattrel and Iono's Bellibolt EX. So one is a draw support, the other one is an energy accelerator. Well, it's our turn now. Can attach this Luxurious Cape to add more HP. I can evolve into Pupitar, And I think I'm just gonna go for Professor's Research. Got another Larvitar, which is good. I can attach this. And then I think I'm just gonna item lock my opponent. So Itchy Pollen deals 10 damage to their Iono Swatrel. Now they can't use any item cards from their hand. For now, Bellibolt is doing its job by attaching an energy to their Kilowattrel. And they also have Squovit. So by means of its ability, they put all the cards they have in their hand to the bottom of the deck, draw one, and they can draw more cards with Iono's Kilowattrel. It's actually a really great combo. By reducing the cards in your hand, you can draw more cards from your deck. Of course, the more energies, the more powerful Voltorb's attack becomes. But then again, Bellibolt EX can also attack in this combo. But my opponent doesn't attack, they're just gonna pass. Alright, we got another Badoo. I can evolve into Tyranitar finally. We can attach the Dark Energy, we can retreat Badoo. Now, we can use Xerosic's Machinations to have them discard at least 2 cards from their hand. But I guess it doesn't really matter because they can just draw more cards with Kilowattrel. At least Tyranitar is able to attack with Cracking Stomp, knocking out one of their Iono's Kilowattrel and also discarding the top 2 cards of their deck. So, while Tyranitar is in the active spot, Daunting Gaze ability is in effect. Now my opponent cannot play any item cards from their hand. So we're off to a good start here, guys. Of course, they can still draw a lot of cards with Iono's Kilowattrel. I mean, Neutralization Zone is available to us. That can be effective against their Iono's Bellibolt EX. Prevent any damage from being done to our non-rule box Pokemon. They're gonna boss my Phasandipity EX though by removing Tyranitar out of the active spot. Now they can use item cards, and the Letter of Encouragement allowed them to get more energies from their deck. Bellibolt accelerates more energies in play. They're gonna use Super Rod to recover Pokemon, but I guess they still have Flashing Draw to draw more cards. Man, their draw support is just so good. Can they stack enough energies to knock out our Phasandipity is the question. I mean, the item lock did work to a degree with Tyranitar, but that is the downside. If your opponent can remove it out of the active, they can still work around it and use item cards. But their Voltorb does not knock out our Phasandipity. Well, we have the energy, we can retreat, and we can keep knocking out their Pokemon with Tyranitar. Might as well put Neutralization Zone, preventing them from having their Bellibolt attack our Tyranitar. So we get another prize for that, guys. Not too bad. So they have little choice. I mean, if they have another Iono's Voltorb, they still have to stack a lot of energies, but they're gonna concede. All right, I'll take it. Good game. On to our final match. My opponent won the coin flip. They've decided to go first, and we're starting this one with Badoo in the active. We also have Larvitar on our bench. And my opponent will start with Duraludon. They also have Brute Bonnet. Okay, so this is an Archaludon EX matchup with the Poison combo. And with the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached to Brute Bonnet, they can now poison both active. And with the Perilous Jungle Stadium, that increases the poison even more. And they can actually knock out our Badoo on their very first turn, which is pretty insane. They also have Petron. Of course, they drew more cards with their Squawkabilly EX. And yeah, this is gonna be a tough matchup. I think Neutralization Zone is definitely gonna help out with this one. But they're just gonna poison. And by ending their turn, they knock out our Badoo. That's gonna get them their first prize. Wow. Okay. Well, all we have left is Larvitar. Thankfully, we got an Ultra Ball. Okay. I'm just gonna disrupt their hand for a little bit here with Xerosic's Machinations. There's really not much we could do anyways, but at least we have Ultra Ball. I'm hoping we have Cleffa. We can't use Fezandipity EX because my opponent did not knock out anyone during their turn. It was between Pokemon checkups, so I'll need these 2 cards actually to preserve my neutralization zone. Thankfully, our Cleffa is not prized, and I'll just retreat, and then I'll put neutralization zone in play, draw into 7 cards with Grasping Draw, and hopefully we can survive a turn here. So we got 2 more Larvitars ready to be set up next turn. We have an Arven. We could use that to get Rare Candy, evolve into Tyranitar, and start attacking next turn. But my opponent will use Iono. That kind of messed us up a little bit, but at least we have Buddy Buddy Poffin and an Arven. At least with the Perilous Jungle out of the way, they can't poison to knock out our Cleffa, but it doesn't really matter because Duraludon, with just a single Metal Energy, can knock out Cleffa. They also have Binding Mochi to increase their attack even more if their Pokemon is poisoned, and they're just gonna take another knockout against our Pokemon here. Alright, well, we got Monkey Dory. We can definitely transfer any damage dealt by that poison. We'll set up 2 more Larvitars, and I think I'm gonna use Iono for the meantime. So that will reduce my opponent's hand to 4. We can evolve into Pupitar. I can attach an energy, and then I'm just gonna end my turn. So at least, hopefully, Pupitar will survive a turn or 2 here. As long as neutralization zone sticks and my opponent can't remove it. If they evolve into Archaludon EX, they can't hurt my Pupitar. So I'm hoping they don't draw into another stadium. There's the Archaludon EX. They managed to evolve. Now they can use that ability to accelerate energies, metal energies from their discard pile to their metal Pokemon. So now Archaludon EX is fully energized, but as long as neutralization zone sticks, we should be fine. And at 300 HP, we can actually 2-hit knockout this guy with Tyranitar. But they're gonna go and retreat into Petarant. They're gonna poison both active, and Petarant, its ability just increases the damage by 5 more. So 6 damage counters with the poison. Thankfully, we survived. We can evolve into Tyranitar, removing that poison, and we can start attacking here. So we're just gonna use Cracking Stomp to knock out this Petarant, discard the top 2 cards of our opponent's deck, and that will get us our first prize. So at least we got a rare candy. We can evolve into another Tyranitar. We have an energy, but no way for us to draw into more cards, which is pretty annoying. But we'll take it one step at a time, right? We can use Professor's Research. Again, as long as they don't draw into a stadium, we should be fine. But I'm not too sure how many stadiums are in this build. We're gonna attach another energy to Duraludon. We're gonna poison both active. They're gonna retreat into another Petarant to increase the poison. Thankfully, Tyranitar has a lot of HP, which is really nice. So we got another Pupitar. We can evolve into another Tyranitar. I'll attach an energy to Monkey Dory this time so I can transfer the damage counters to Duraludon. Maybe it'll be a lot easier for us to knock it out. We'll just take a knockout here. Again, discarding the top 2 cards of our opponent's deck, getting another prize. And we got Crispin. Perfect. So with Crispin, we do have Fighting and Dark Energy in this deck. So we can fully power up our other Tyranitar with Crispin. So we just keep attacking, and all the while my Tyranitar is in the active spot, Daunting Gaze is in effect, item locking my opponent, and they actually use Carmine to discard a lot of the cards in their hand. That's insane. They have 6 cards left in their deck. Is there stadium prize or something? they can't seem to get rid of Neutralization Zone. So anyways, that's going into our favor. I'm gonna use Crispin to fully energize my Tyranitar here. And I'm gonna continue to transfer damage counters to this other Archaludon. And we're gonna attack with Cracking Stomp. That discarded Carmine and Boss's Orders. I think we're good here, guys. Slowly but surely, we're winning. Item locking our opponent. Neutralization Zone preventing them from knocking out our active. But you know what? They're gonna replace it with Perilous Jungle. Finally, they managed to set that up. But, oh, they're gonna concede! Alright! Good game! And that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching the Popsicleknight channel, and until next time, please stay safe and have a great day.